Well, it's another attempt to come to grips with what we feel is a crisis in educational system. Educational system is very old, 2,500 years old. The idea of education was invented in ancient Greece and is still with us. It was the concept of a master transferring wisdom, experience, accumulated knowledge to a disciple. Master was the only access to knowledge because there were no libraries like this one, not to mention there were no computers, and you couldn't get the latest information about the state of knowledge just by pressing your fingers. And that put the master in the role of gatekeeper of knowledge. Gatekeeper of knowledge. If you wanted knowledge, and very many people wanted it, they had to, spend sometimes in the company of their master, who will transfer the knowledge, mostly orally. You remember Aristotle, who conducted the peripatetic school of philosophy, which meant that people just walked together in a wood, which was called academia at that time, and listened and tried to remember and think about and retain the knowledge they received. Now, if you compare that with the present situation, you see that it is very, very, very far away. I think that the most important thing which happened to education in recent years is the disruption of the contact or the link between master and disciple. Knowledge is now everywhere, and what is more important even is that if still half a century ago people thought that what constitutes the obstacle to be effective in life is the deficit of knowledge. You have to get more knowledge than you have. You have to do more research, to collect more data, and so on. Today, it is the other way around. Today, excess of knowledge is the major obstacle. There is too much of it. No human brain is able to assimilate it and to retain it. We invented servers. We just store our knowledge there, just in case it will be needed at some point. But to find it there, in that archive, is tremendously difficult. How to distinguish the useful information from completely irrelevant. Is too many of it. And therefore, what creates the feeling of disorientation among contemporary people is not their ignorance, but on the contrary, the knowledge that there is too much knowledge for them to consume. That's one very important and essential change which happened, but there are others as well. There is never before in history there were so many people at the same time in all sorts of schools, all levels of schooling, from primary school to the higher education. It's a massive effort today, and as in the case of every excessively developed institution, you have the overproduction of educated people. Still, 30, 40 years ago, a person who was lucky enough to go to the university and get the diploma and the degree could be pretty sure that there is a very interesting plum job waiting for them. And they will get it, and they will live happily ever after because they will develop skills which they already acquired. Now it is not like that. Very many young people, as you know, face for the first time, probably in history, the situation where there is no meaningful employment for them. There are too many experts produced and too little expert jobs available. This year, well, the graduates of the last year in universities, not only in Spain, but all over Europe, are in a very difficult situation. About half of them is either unemployed completely and waiting for jobs, or is forced to accept jobs which are much, much below their level of expertise, level of skills, and which didn't bring satisfaction, which are poorly remunerated, which don't give any security in life, and so on. All this creates a very tense situation, and the result, overall result, is the suspicion among quite a number of young people, and growing suspicion that the established educational institutions are not trustworthy, that they are not reliable, really. They are rather inclined to either to skip the education, higher education particularly, altogether, and go to business, for example, just avoiding many, many years of struggle and trying to attempt to establish themselves and so on. Or they are just, switching from the university class, university auditorium, to computers, hoping that if they need something, if they are smart enough to find it, then it is a more reliable source of latest, updated information than the one which they get in the school. This created a turmoil, and the rapid aging of knowledge becoming obsolete because there's so many new knowledge coming on, and the old knowledge is no longer trusted, and so on. This creates a situation when, in fact, one-off education. You go, and when you are a very young person, you go to the university, you get your diploma, and you are ready to face all problems which you will find in life. It's no longer true, precisely because what you learned in the university may be completely out of date in a matter of 5 or 10 years. You have to learn anew. The major problem, therefore, in learning, in educating today, is not so much to appropriate knowledge as being able to update it. The flexibility of your frame of mind, openness to new information. No longer, I repeat, one-off event in your life for young people, but a lifelong education is now absolutely necessary. If you want to remain effective in life, you have to learn all your life. And that cannot be provided by established schools and universities. We have to invent some other ways of educating people. Well, unfortunately, the relationship between individuals and history is such that individuals, you, me, everybody else, are shaped by history, but the history is shaped by them. That's a reciprocal relationship. So the only message I can give is that the world will look exactly like they make it, I wouldn't say that they are particularly outcasts. There is a tendency pushing them away from the mainstream. That's true. But outcast perhaps is the wrong word. What is typical for the situation today is that very many people who felt previously, not long ago, very well established in life, secure. Their social position was already achieved, and no one is going to take it away from them. Now these people are in what I call the situation of precariat. Précarité, the French word, means uncertainty, the wobbly ground under your feet. You are moving in a moving sand. You don't know what the next day will bring. You are living under constant fear that, the company for which you work already several years or several dozens of years will suddenly be eaten up by another company, and you will be made redundant, and you will lose all achievement of your life. That is precariat, and what we call the middle class, not long ago, I think, becomes more and more precariat, not proletariat, not necessarily living in misery, not necessarily being hungry, going to bed without dinner, but precariat in the sense that they feel insecure. They live more or less from one day to another and absolutely unaware what the next year may bring. And the dreadful situation of young people consists in that they enter the adult world today when the group of people, the class of people which they enter, already is a precariat, already lives in these conditions of uncertainty, ignorance, and general feeling of unsafety. And that's shocking. That's shocking. The entry is very painful. That is very painful. Older generation had a crisis in their life, but they were, in a sense, exceptional in the whole life process. In the period of good work, stable work, they succeeded to accumulate certain experience. They knew how to deal with issues. The young generation didn't have the opportunity to do that. So for them, finding their place in the adult world is particularly difficult and challenging. It is objectively difficult situation. I wouldn't pretend that there is an easy exit from it. I think that young people today must think very hard and must try. They are trying, actually. They very often go to the street trying to come together and impress a different kind of reality on the world as it is. Well, they are trying. Now they shouldn't stop trying, but I can't promise fast, quick results. That's going to be a difficult life, that's true. What I have in mind is that instead of speaking about globalization, I think it's much more reasonable to speak about glocalization. The combination of two words, global and local, glocalization. Glocalization means that the place which you mentioned, which you're asking about, the place is losing much of its significance. Once upon a time, the distance gave you security. When you were distant from trouble, well, you felt relatively secure. They have to struggle very hard in order to get to me. No longer the case. Distance doesn't matter very much. You can pass signals to New Zealand if you want in a fraction of the second. There's no question about that. So significance of space, significance of place is much less than it used to be before. By itself, the place does not give you security which you want. On the other hand, the place, the locality, increases in its meaning, because, as I was talking about today morning, because of the familiarity of it, because the place being within the reach of your abilities. You can actually see the results of your action right away. So it requires meaning in the process of identification. Here is my home. Here is where I can do something. Well, the world is a very big thing, and I can't be sure that I can influence the course of events on the global scale, even more so because the forces which are there in global space are clearly much more overpowering, overwhelming than my personal strength allows me to confront effectively. but within the on the local scale, we can go together, we can cooperate, we can help each other, and perhaps we can even not only put our local things in order, not only make our locality comfortable, but even create the method, the way, in which other people in other places could learn. Like, for example, in the two movements which are now in Italy, very interesting movements. One is slow food, and the other is città slow. Both movements precisely wanting to start remaking the earth from remaking the places. First of all, put your place in order, and then you will have a more friendly and more comfortable world. The right distinction is between online and offline. Each one of us divides every day virtually between the space which I call online and the space which is offline. And there are different rules in each of the two worlds. Online, in very many respects, is much more convenient and comfortable because it's much quicker, and besides you feel more in your control. If you don't like the conversational, you just switch it off. Very simple. I can, in online, I could push a button and you would disappear, and there will be the end of interview, I will go away. You know. In offline, that's impossible. And the same applies to relationship between people. It is very easy in online world to enter a relationship, and it is very easy to exit from the relationship, not like in offline. And the big danger here is that people who are inhabiting both worlds at the same time will find out that online is much more pleasant to be in, and therefore the offline should be lifted to the level of online, and everything made so brittle, so easy to tie and untie like it is in the online. But that would be a disaster for the others' need, very profound need in every one of us, precisely the need of togetherness, of emotions, of love, of friendship, and so on. The 1,000 friends which you have now on Facebook is not a replacement for the 5 really good friends which you have in offline. That's the problem.